that's what we're talking about, right?
Yes. Yes.
That's that single note that Howard Thurman is alluding to, that penetrates the depths of our being, the one that's calling us inward. That's it. Oh my God, how beautiful. Whew. That's worth it just coming here for that today, right? I am so grateful to be here today. It's been a while since I've seen Patricia and Jessica, and what a gift to be back here in this community. Wow. Life is really good. Life is really good today. Jessica did let you know that I was busy this morning with another family. Part of what I do in my daily vocation, I don't even want to call it work, is I'm privileged to be with families that are releasing loved ones onto the other side. I've been doing that for almost 7 years. And I also am a staff minister at Agape, part of the university, and developing coursework and teaching and all of those other wonderful things. So I have come to a place in my life where my work doesn't feel like work. I literally pinch myself almost every day to say, oh my God, I get paid to do this. I get paid to do this. I love the theme for the month, Joyous June. And I chose these readings because June always reminds me of graduation and summertime, you know, the beginning of summer and vacations and all sorts of things are happening. And I must have given that Dr. Seuss book out to at least a dozen different people because, you know, not only is Dr. Seuss whimsical and funny, but there are some real depths in his readings. And the little excerpt of that entire book I chose just as the beginning to couple with Howard Thurman's conversation around the travels of our mind, because that seems to be the contrast in my life anyways. Not so much the journey that I'm on externally and the places that I go daily, but what's happening in my mind, the journey that I take my mind in and on. The reading talked a little bit also about, you know, how do you know? I mean, that's what I wanted to ask you. How do you know when you know? Because my topic is, the places you go when you finally know. Well, how do you know when you know, right? How do you know when you know? I wrestle with that sometimes myself daily. You know, how do I know if it's my ego mind that's telling me to do something, or is it that part of self that knows? I know you're shaking your head. Some of you recognize that. And how we get to those places is by some of the things we did here this morning. Meditation, right? You all have a spiritual practice. I have a spiritual practice. I've been in that spiritual practice for over 30 years of meditation, and it has developed and grown and shifted and changed and has done many, many different things. And yet the simplicity of the quiet, the stillness, is so valuable because that's when we get a chance to listen to that still small voice that beckons us, that calls us, that knows us, that loves us, that supports us, that only wants the best for us. Because that's what I believe our God is, our God, our Creator is, only wants the best for us. And to hear that still small voice from within, I have to get into the stillness. I have to. Normally, I don't leave my house without a daily meditation practice, normally. But some days, I am called out unexpectedly. Today, I did have an early morning meditation practice because I was up quite early. I've been on call all weekend. And of course, the only call that I got this weekend was right before I needed to be here for meditation. And thank God it was local in Irvine. So I was able to achieve that. But the point being that I still woke up early. Before my feet hit the floor, I had my meditation practice, a beautiful, solid 25 minutes of the stillness to center myself, how good it is to center down, how good it is to be calm before I rush out to whatever I need to rush out to. So that's one of the things that we get to do, to develop and establish that entry point within that allows us to know the difference between knowing from up here or knowing from here. I try to guide my day-to-day business from here, my heart, allowing that to guide me instead of my head, because I don't trust my head all the time, right?
Right.
I don't always trust the head. It's not always got my best interest in mind. And as you can imagine, I think you can relate to this. Sometimes my head tells me things that are not very supportive, not very comforting. But what I've learned to do even with that is that there's another piece of information for me to be with. There might be an old belief, an old idea, an old limiting thing that prevents me from moving out, stepping out into that which I'm really being called to do, become, or be. So it's that dance. It's that dance of learning, listening. What do I want to pay attention to? What do I want to let go of? So when I'm in that place, I am in such a remarkable place. The meditation, oftentimes for me, is also wherever I go. You know, yesterday I was also at a memorial service part of one of our families asked me to participate in. There was an activity, I don't know if you've ever been to a memorial service where they do a military representation or a ceremony. And this gentleman happened to be in the Air Force, so they had 2 Air Force soldiers here, and full uniform, but the presentation of the flag, that ritual, that ceremonial experience, and the simplicity of it, in utter silence, the unfolding of the flag, holding it up for a brief moment in time, the folding of the flag back up again, and then to deliver it to the spouse. Utter silence. Utter silence in the room. Nothing was said, but yet what was created was a very sacred moment, right? We were all brought to the stillness. We know what that feels like. So if you don't have time in the morning to meditate, which I highly recommend, there are moments throughout our day that we can capture by becoming still again. Becoming still wherever you're at. I spend a lot of time on the 405. Yes. Great place to practice meditation. And I've become very good at it. I also use it as a place to pray, because I have a lot of people I do prayer calls with. I've learned how to have that dual awareness of being absolutely aware of my environment, my surroundings, and be steeped inwardly, connected to this infinite source that anchors me, allows me to do anything and everything wherever I'm at. It's remarkable, you know. So take advantage of these moments that you have throughout your day, wherever you're at. Walking out in the beautiful community that we live in. I live in Laguna Beach. I get to hike up in the canyons. I often go with a dear friend of mine, and sometimes we just choose to do that hike in the silence, to take in the sense, to feel the breeze on our face, to hear the birds that are surrounding us. Those are moments of meditation. Those are moments of becoming still. You can do it wherever you're at. It's portable. It's easy. We can recalibrate the hectic, busy traffic of our mind, or the traffic wherever we're at, by a simple breath, an in-breath, to recalibrate, to restart again, to recharge, to begin again, to begin new. Beautiful, right? Easy instructions. Anybody can do it.
Yes.
We can do it.
Yes.
So now what? You think you know, so where will you go now that you know? You know, it's been said that the world is our oyster, that we can do anything and everything, and we really can if you believe it. We really, really can. The only thing that limits us is this,
Yes.
the mind.
Yes.
The mind that wants to tell us otherwise. There's a story I want to share with you, because I actually put this into practice, and it became really amazing. You all know salmon, the fish salmon that swim upstream. Well, I came across this story about the salmon fish through Mark Nepo. Mark Nepo has written many books. This was from a Little Book of Awakening, and he talks about the salmon fish. How do they make it upstream? It's remarkable. It's like a miracle. How does that happen? Well, what happens is that within the salmon, they have this innate knowledge to turn their bodies, to turn it so their belly, their underside, hits the rushing water against them. And in the turning of their body, it just smacks them and propels them forward. No effort. All they do is make a turn, bam, they keep going up and up and up. So we take that little thought of the salmon, and I thought about that. If I'm really going to live this life of freedom, if I'm really all that I claim to be and all that I know through these teachings, I want to put it into practice. So I was just noticing one day what I might be attached to throughout my day, mentally attached to something. I had some emails to respond to people, and I wanted a response back. I took a little risk, and I was thinking about a particular individual that I just started dating. Put the email out there, and all day long I'm looking, but I noticed what I was attached to. And every time I started to worry about anything that I wasn't getting a response in, I noticed my body started to sort of hunch over and curl up. And I remembered that salmon, and that by opening myself up, being vulnerable, because that's what we do, we are being vulnerable when we expose ourselves in a way. I knew I was coming from my heart, and all of these little activities that I was doing, it was in my head. It was really a sense of thoughtfulness and caring. But the mind wanted to make up another story about it. So I just noticed, and I kept on, and I would be open, literally opening my chest up to feel the expansion, feel the vulnerability. It didn't feel good. I was extremely uncomfortable for most of the day. But all day long, that was what my practice was. I didn't like it most of the time. But what I did notice by the end of the day is that some of these responses were coming back. Things were happening that I was waiting for an answer about. Great things started to present themselves before me. And I had a sense of relief, but yet through all of what I experienced that day, I was like, oh my God. It was exhausting, and at the same time, I never felt more radically alive than I did that day. Can you imagine having that much awareness in the things that we do and being present to even the areas, the moments, the feelings of, this feels really uncomfortable. And not have to judge it, just be aware I'm uncomfortable. But I know that I'm doing something or wanting something. It's from a heart place, not from a selfish place, not from an ego place. So I get to be with that. Everything changes. Everything changes. So, wow, the opportunity that presents ourselves everywhere. It's not so much about what trip I'm going to go on or where I'm going to be. What I'm finding is that the places that I get to go now are more inward. The places that I get to go now are more inward. Every day I'm with people that are on the edge of life. They are on the edge of life. I've told people what I do for work, vocation. It's like, oh my God, how can you be with people that are dying all the time? And it's not about dying anymore. It's more about living. How can we bring more life into the room of a person that sits at the edge of the bed, the edge of their life, when all things have changed for them? Priorities have changed. What mattered before doesn't matter anymore. Every single moment, every single breath becomes so magnificent, so purpose-filled. And I get to be with that. How can I bring joy into a home where there's sorrow and sadness? There's so many stories and spiritual teachers that talk about death and life being the same thing, just like the river and the ocean are one and the same, taken from the prophet. That why are we afraid to die? Why are we afraid to be at the edge of our life when we know that life is really eternal? Yes, there's a physical aspect of our being that may pass, that will pass. We will all get to that place. We will all get to that place. And every single one of us will succeed. That's one thing guaranteed we will succeed at, is our own death. So what kind of death do you want to have? And so I get to create space for people to have a good death, to have a death that is meaningful and purpose-filled. That people get to reflect. We get to reflect on our own life if we were so precious enough to remember that, to stop, to pay attention, to notice that we matter. Each one of us in this room matters so much, that everything that we do matters. Everything that we think matters. That we are a part of this magnificent mosaic called life, all of us fitting in together. One little aspect of what we do or think or say changes everything in any given moment. We matter, we make a difference. Whether you believe it or not, it's true. I'm just hearing scripture in my mind about take your shoes off. The very ground that you stand on is holy. We are holy, sacred beings. If we get that at the depths of our soul, that single note is calling us inward to remember by, we begin to have a life that changes, that makes sense, that matters. Forgive me if I don't engage so much in small talk and chit-chat anymore, or gossip. Forgive me if I don't disregard things that don't matter so much to me and really pay more attention to things that make a difference. How can I be of service to you? How can I be kind and gentle and loving? And that might even look like just a smile to a stranger. That's one thing I often tell my families as well too, or the patient really, because we leave, all these CSI programs and shows that are talking about fingerprints. We can dust for fingerprints. Well, you know what? We leave our soul print everywhere. Wherever we go on this earth, every encounter we've had with any individual, a part of our soul has been left there, uniquely to us. There's a vibration, there's something that has done something. So imagine stringing all of that along together to create this beautiful ribbon to present to somebody at the edge of their bed, the edge of their life, who doesn't think they made a difference in this world. We start to unravel that. We start to think about, the places you've been, the things that you've done, all the ways that you've made a difference. Wow. We are amazing. We really are amazing if we allow ourselves to believe that. If we really allow ourselves to believe that. The story in Dr. Seuss talks a little bit also about, and I think we talked a little bit about it in the beginning of the reading, that there are roads that we get to choose. There are forks in the road. There are times on our journey that we get to wait. Now sometimes, how many in the room maybe have moved too quickly, didn't wait long enough, moved too quickly and make a decision, or decided to go somewhere, do something, only to realize that I should have waited. I really should have waited. But it doesn't matter in the end. It really doesn't matter in the end. But the point is, if we do get to those places, we have these resources, we have these tools available with us, in us. The divine intelligence that's within us, we call forth, we get to be present with until we are impelled or compelled to move, to take the next action, to take the next step. Life somehow, some way, begins to unfold in a most perfect way, with ease and grace. But yet, even if we decide to take a detour on the places that we go, we always get to where we're supposed to be anyway. We always do. There's a divine plan for each of our lives in this room. We may think we know what it is all the time. We might be so aware that we think we know where I'm going and what I'm doing. How many of you in this room today, show of hands, are doing what they thought they were doing, would be doing, when they graduated high school? Nobody, right? How about even graduated college? I know some professional people that have lawyers, physicians that did a long time in college and study, maybe aren't doing that anymore. The point being is that it's great to have a head full of knowledge that we get from our schooling and the things that we're committed to, the things we think we might want to do. And it's also wonderful to have inspiration, to be led and to really break through some of the old binds that our minds might tell us about things the way they have to be or should be. To answer to that voice, to listen to that voice within that will truly give us everything we need to make a shift in career. I've probably changed my careers at least three times, including 11 years stay-home mom as a career with 4 children. So I want to bring it back to this piece from our reading, relating back to Dr. Seuss again. It says, so be your name Buxbaum or Bixby or Barney or Mordecai Alley Van Allen O'Shea. We are off to great places. Today is our day. Your mountain is waiting, so get on your way. What are we waiting for, right? Life is waiting for us. Life is waiting for us. The old saying, carpe diem, seize the day. I like to say, let the day seize you. I love the life that is living me today, because in that statement there's a lot of surrender in that. I allow life to lead me. I release and let go of things that I might feel attached to. Boy, what a ride. What a ride. Thank you all.